Stories about revenge. The unknown lace caviar comes from Revealed, an encounter with a black-eyed kid, and more are revealed in today's episode. Stick through to the end to find out. Stories about the revenge stories of witches are as scary as they come. This is the story of La Lecuza, an owl witch who felt unjustly killed by her townsmen and now comes back in the form of an owl occasionally to haunt them. Anytime you hear an owl whistling, it just might be La Lecuza.
Can you do the Lechuza the Owl Witch? If you hear an owl hooting at night, it might just be La Lechuza. In Mexican folklore, the story of La Lechuza is that she was a witch who the townsfolk didn't like, so they killed her. She decided to come back from the dead to get revenge, taking form as an owl. It's also said that she can shapeshift from a human into an owl. Some people who have claimed to see La Lechuza describe her as unnaturally large, 7 feet tall with a 15-foot wingspan. Others describe her as just an average owl or maybe even a bird. It's also said to get your attention, La Lechuza will whistle outside your window at night. Moral of the story, if you hear an owl hooting outside your window or you hear it whistling, don't look outside your window until the sun comes out, because it might just be La Lechuza. Have any of you guys ever seen her? Let me know in the comments.
Ever eaten caviar before? Yes? I bet you loved it too. Once you watch this clip though, you might never want anything to do with a plate of caviar again.
These are videos humans were never meant to see, part 12.
So I'm guessing a bunch of you either tried or heard of caviar. But have you ever stopped and thought where it came from? Well, if you haven't, you're about to find out, and it's absolutely terrifying. Just watch this video.
There are so many things we might never understand about North Korea, but let's add this clip to the list too, shall we? No one knows why this woman is trying so hard to look like she's directing traffic when it is obvious she's faking it.
It's rumored that in North Korea they have their citizens act out certain roles or jobs to make the country seem a lot better than it is to foreigners. This video may help prove that. The video was taken in downtown Pyongyang, and the sidewalks are bustling with people. The person taking the video turns to show the street traffic. Standing along the street is a traffic control officer, and she turns around and seems to notice that she's being filmed. She turns back to the street and starts blowing on her whistle and waving her flag. However, despite her looking like she's directing traffic, she isn't actually doing anything. The cars keep driving past and the people keep walking by. It's almost as if she's putting on a show for the camera.
This is the story of Adele from Somalia, who comes in contact with a very bad ghost. He lives to tell his story though, thankfully. One can't be sure whether his prayers of safety were truly answered, or if the ghost wasn't in a scary mode on this day.
This is a true horrifying story that took place in Somalia in the year 1998. Adel, a young man from Somalia, worked in a goat farming business in Mogadishu, the capital of Somalia. One day, Adel had orders in the city of Barbara. He had to drive there to buy sheep and goats. Barbara is a very long drive from the capital. During the road trip, he had to find a place to stay for the night. He found an abandoned house, very cheap to rent because it had no electricity. He paid the taker to spend the night there. He took off to buy some cigarettes and dinner for himself, and he went back to this abandoned house. He had a candle with him for some light inside the house while having dinner. After dinner, Adel goes outside and starts his car. Late at night, he puts a cassette in the car, leaves the door open, and plays music. Cassettes were used in most cars back in the 90s for music. Outside the car, he lights up a cigarette and vibes to the music in pitch darkness. Time goes by, and suddenly, the music stops out of nowhere. As he turns towards the car, the door of the car slams shut. He assumed it could have been the wind. He takes the cassette out, flips it, and puts it back inside. Right before lighting his next cigarette, the music stops again. As he turns towards the car, the door slams shut. At this point, whatever happened caught Adel's attention. He takes his torch, walks around and starts reading his prayers. A few meters behind the house, he notices a woman covered from head to toe. He couldn't see clearly. The torch wasn't strong enough, but as he got closer, this being expands. It got bigger after every step he took. He runs towards the car. He tries to start the car, but the car won't start. He knew that this house is haunted. These were jinns. He is now stuck inside his car. He looks at the rear view mirror and he sees the same dark figure behind him. Adil is in a very bad situation. For 5 minutes straight, this figure did not move a muscle. A minute felt like an hour. His throat started drying out from fear, and there was nothing he can do. He stayed in his car, begging and praying to God till the sun came up. Hours go by. He opens his eyes, starts his car, and drives back to Mogadishu, leaving everything behind.
This clip explains one known fact. Never go exploring abandoned cities. They were abandoned for a reason. Well, this group of explorers found that out after a photo they had taken of a building came out with an unidentified eerie face.
Let's talk about this picture. So this is a still that was actually captured from video footage that was taken by Project Ghost Town, and if you look at the top of the staircase, you'll notice there's something wrong with the photo. But to bring you this episode of Creep Time, I am partnering up with Spyfly. This is the site for running background reports. If you're getting insights for safety purposes, property, or even reverse phone lookups, Spyfly is perfect for vetting first dates, even if you want to reconnect with long-lost loved ones. Make sure to check the link in my bio, sign up for Spyfly today. This group, they went to go visit a town called Demeril, which is really infamous because back in the day, everybody left this town on the same day. Nobody ever knew why. While exploring abandoned houses, they started taking video and caught this. They looked at the footage and they looked at the top of the staircase and realized what they had caught was an unknown face. Despite them claiming they searched the house and they were sure they were alone, the footage has largely gone unexplained. Is a haunting the reason everybody left Demeril back in the day?
Do you know what the Russian Dead Hand is? What about the Yellowstone supervolcano? I bet you've never even heard about the Point of Nemo. That's why you should watch this clip to find out.
These are some extremely unsettling facts, and I found all these on Reddit. Number 1, the Russian Dead Hand. Now I already hear you saying it. What's the Russian Dead Hand? Well, the Russian Dead Hand is an extremely realistic end to the Earth as we know it. If Russia's government ever gets overthrown or they detect a nuclear threat, they have a protocol called the Russian Dead Hand. This protocol will essentially send out nuclear warheads all across the world. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you why that would be bad. Number 2, Yellowstone. Now chances are, even if you're not from America, you know what Yellowstone is. It's a volcano that we have out here in America that's been dormant for years. And we need to thank our lucky stars that it's dormant, and here's why. If Yellowstone were to go off in the explosive fashion that scientists are expecting it to, it would force us into an ice age. This massive explosion would cover the skies in ash, thus cooling down Earth itself, and sending us into an ice age. And if this were to happen, scientists suspect that about 85% of humanity across the globe would cease to exist. And the reason why this is so scary is the fact that it could happen at any moment. And finally, we have Point Nemo. Now this one doesn't have anything specifically scary about it, but it's still terrifying to think of. Point Nemo is the farthest point away from land on Earth. Quite literally the middle of the ocean. There's actually a lot of stories about planes and aircrafts that mysteriously crashed right above Point Nemo. Now whether it's because it's cursed or whatever the case may be, nobody knows. But because this point is so far away from land, we know so little about it. And something about that doesn't sit right with me. Now if you didn't like hearing those, I'm sorry, but that's why.
Ever had a black-eyed kid encounter? This boy is left at home alone and hears a knock on the door. What happens next is enough to leave a chill in your bones.
For context, in this story, I am male. This happened about 30 minutes ago and I'm scared shitless. My brother and my dad went out to see a movie, so I was home all alone. I made myself some food and I was chilling watching a movie when I heard a knock at the door. I thought that this was strange because my brother and dad were supposed to be home at 10:30 tonight, but I just thought maybe the movie was shorter than I had thought and that they were home already. I looked through the peephole to see a very attractive girl about my age standing outside my door. I thought I was getting lucky as there was an attractive girl right outside my apartment door without anyone else home, so I grabbed the door handle, but as I did, a chill went down my spine. I thought it might have just been my nervousness because I was about to talk to a girl who was obviously out of my league, but in retrospect, it was a lot more sinister. I opened the door and she says, "I have no idea where I am. I was out at a party tonight and I can't find my way home. Can I use your phone to call my mum?" I was about to let her in because I knew what it felt like when you feel like you're about to be in deep shit because you didn't call your mum. Right as I began to talk, I could finally see the girl's eyes. She looked up at me and they were completely black. There were no whites, no iris, no nothing. It all looked like one giant pupil. I have been lurking on the internet long enough to realise that black eyes were a reason for me to nope the fuck out of there. I came up with an excuse, that she could use my cell phone to call her mum, and she said it was fine. I picked up my phone and for some reason the signal was dead. This is where I started saying to myself, you got yourself in this position, so get yourself out of it. I said that I just have to ask my dad if it was okay to let her inside. But what she said chilled me to the bone. She replied with, "Your father left with your brother 2.5 hours ago." I literally slammed the door in her face, locked it and called my best friend to come pick me up. I hopped off the balcony, because I live on the second story, and got straight into his family's car. I am currently in said car on my way back to his house and have notified my father about what had happened. I am not going back home. No way am I going back there until my dad's home at least. And if you don't hear back from me, you know why.
There are about 1 billion ways to die, but these scenarios are simply some of the worst and most unfortunate. Imagine getting mauled by a bear or getting run over by a train. Yikes.
Worst ways people have been unalived, Part 1. Patrick Cooper was running through a rural area for his school when he was mauled by a bear. Christy Bratz got her foot stuck while crossing a train track, therefore having the train unalive her. First 1,000 of you to click the link in my bio, like, comment, and subscribe on the channel will get a shout out.
Working on the set of The Wizard of Oz was known to be a terrifying experience. It reportedly even led to the death of one of the Munchkins. It is rumored that he killed himself, though no one knows why.
Terrifying things found in movies, Part 1. In the scene we're off to see the wizard, in The Wizard of Oz, something absolutely tragic happens in the background of the movie. I've read that the working conditions throughout this movie were absolutely horrible, leading one of the Munchkins to actually unalive themselves in the background of the final product of the movie.
Which of these discoveries tickled your mystery-loving spot? Let us know in the comments section.